Hey, Rielyn, how are you?
Good, Dr. Hurst, how are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Thank you. I'm excited about talking about our subject today because it really is a foundational aspect of better health, of longevity, of helping people overcome the chronic illnesses, the metabolic disease that is so prominent in costing people so much. So I'm excited to talk about today's subject.
Yeah, me too. Exercise is such a big part of, longevity strategy. And I know it's a big part of your life and my life as well. So we'll definitely have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. And the title of this, or the main premise here, is the fountain of youth. And I give this credit to one of my main mentors when I was going through my cardiology training. He would commonly say this to patients, that physical activity is the fountain of youth. And I loved that so much that I've adopted it for my patients as I was learning to be a cardiologist, and then as a cardiologist. And I think it's not a statement that is overly grandizing. Like, I really do believe that if your goal is to live a long, vital life, physical activity is not optional. It is absolutely essential. And yet, depending on what studies you look at, the research says that most of us aren't doing even minimum amount of physical activity. So today, what we're going to do, one, explore that, like, why are people struggling to get physical activity in their life? And then number two, how to structure a physical activity system that allows people to achieve their health goals, achieve their longevity goals. So with that in mind, Rielyn, what do you think are the things that you have learned from our clients that is holding them back from being more physically active? Like, what are the big factors, do you think, that have you've noticed from them that they said, I'm not doing physical activity? And I guess I'll be more specific. Does anybody come to you and say, you know what, I don't really believe that physical activity is that important for good health?
Yeah, definitely. I think I think most people know that it's important. I don't know if most people think of it as non-negotiable. Like, they've adopted this identity of, like, I don't really work out, or like that's not really who I am, kind of thing. Or they just have dealt with a lot of maybe injuries or health
Mm.
issues in the past. And so working out doesn't really seem like a possibility to them in the beginning. Like, a lot of times when we talk about physical activity and working out, the initial thought is, okay, I got to go to the gym and I got to lift weights and I got to, do all this stuff you used to do when you were in your 20s. And that's really not the case. It's not like you say, and I'm like, you're probably going to talk more in depth about today, is that, to get the benefits, you don't really have to do as much as you think. And so that's going to be really important for everyone who's watching to pay attention to today. And then I think another thing I've been recently kind of paying attention to is a lot of people are concerned that they don't have the energy to work out. Like, I'm too busy and I don't have the time, and I don't have the energy. Like, when I get home, all I want to do is relax. Or when I wake up, like, I am too tired to try and exercise. But really, the reality is, like, when people start doing it, even just 10 minutes a day, they have more energy throughout the day. And that's just something I've been noticing in general, is like, it's kind of a snowball effect. And something I noticed with myself personally too is, like, if I have a day where I don't am not physically active, like, say I'm not feeling well, or just like had a lot going on and I let it slip, I hate when that happens because I don't feel as good throughout the day. And I don't know, for me, if it's necessarily an energy thing, but I'm just happier, which gives me more energy in a way. So I think that's another thing that a lot of people are afraid of, that they're too tired or it's going to make them more tired. or that they just they can't bring themselves to do it. But really, once you get going and start practicing it on a daily basis, just little increments at a time, it's not going to be what you think. It's not going to exhaust you. It's actually going to energize you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that's a lot of how we help our clients is, number one, resetting that frame that, you know, exercise isn't something that's optional. You know, it's like, you know, brushing your teeth, or, you know, if you have to go to work or take care of your pets or your kids or whatever, like this is something that has to be part of your life. And I think that helps people, like,
Yeah.
okay, now I understand this. You know, we also talk a lot about how, you know, if it's something that you're wanting to build into your life and you know it's a high priority, do it early, you know, and get that you know, get that started. And the other thing, as you'd said, is changing that frame from I'm too tired or I don't have time to exercise to I am tired and I don't have time because I'm not exercising, you know, because that was my experience as well when
I
I
like
was
that.
not regularly active. When I was in fellowship, I was on call a lot. I was up all night, and I was trying to get more regular with activity, but I would take the days off when I was after call. You know, like I was up most of the night. The next morning, I would make that excuse. I said, "Well, I can't exercise today because I was on call last night. Like I was up all night. How, you know, I have an excuse to not do this." But one day, I went out and I did 5 minutes. I'm not kidding. 5 minutes of like a slow jog just around the block. And I realized, wow, the day was so much better. Like I had so much more energy and mental clarity, and I felt better. And I'm like, okay, this is something I have to do. Yeah, you know, not because I should do it, but because I feel so much better when I do it. So I think those are really important factors and things that we help people, you know, change their frame around. And then, you know, a third one, as you said, is oftentimes people make this too complicated. You know, they feel like they have to spend an hour in the gym or it has to be miserable to be a benefit, when in fact, even relatively modest amounts of physical activity, 5, 10 minutes a day, can set the stage for future you know, increasing those, but can impact people's health and how they're feeling right away. Even that much of physical activity, helping people understand that can be really, has been really advantageous in helping people develop that habit.
Yeah, definitely. I think I just wanted to reiterate, I just think non-negotiable is such an impactful word. Um, and when you're making changes for your health, and when you're trying to improve your habits for your health, like determining some of those non-negotiables is a really important part of it. And physical activity should always be a part of that, whether it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes, or whether, whatever you want to do. But, some type of movement and strengthening is a non-negotiable factor if you want to work towards longevity. Absolutely. And then the time, I love that story of the 5 minutes, because it's really so powerful. Like, those days when you are feeling unmotivated, those days when you're feeling like, oh, I just don't want to do this at all costs, your mind is coming up with every excuse to not do it. You can counter with, you know what, I can do this for 5 minutes. And sometimes that 5-minute workout is the hardest workout, because you're overcoming that lack of motivation you have, and that like dislike of like, or just not wanting to do it. But that is the biggest step, is being able to tell yourself, no, just do it for 5 minutes and just get it done. Just take action and get it done. So that's why I love that story that you have, Dr. Hurst, because it really is so true. I remember I had a client, a couple of people actually being like, 5 minutes? Are you kidding me? That's not going to do anything. And I'm like, yes, it will. I'm like, just do it
Right.
for a week. Because right now you're doing nothing. So give me 5 minutes. That's it. And I think that is shocking to people, but when you set the bar for yourself so embarrassingly low, like you're like, I can't not do this, right? And that's how you get the ball rolling. So I love that story.
Yeah, it really is how we have figured out how to get people to get those amazing benefits from exercise. Like it's not just, going on and on and on about the benefits of exercise. Most people understand that, but it's helping them start building their physical activity system. And, we do that by getting them very clear on why, like, why is this, something that is non-negotiable for me? Why? What are my, what are those things that make this so important to me? It's, their loved ones, their purpose, they're wanting to get the most out of life. And then what are you going to accomplish? Getting people very clear on that. And, what is it that I want to do? And oftentimes we're bringing people back on those things. Like they have those false beliefs that they have to spend an hour at the gym to get benefit. We're like, okay, let's start with something a little bit more simple, like a little bit more straightforward. As you said, so embarrassingly small that you're absolutely going to get that done. And then what are you going to do every day to do it, and or to accomplish those goals? And just, giving people feedback, like continuing to adjust that over time. It takes people from where they look at it now and it just seems like an insurmountable mountain to climb to, in 3 months, 6 months, a year, them looking back and saying, wow, I'm doing so much more than I ever dreamed possible. And I don't do it because I have to. I do it because I love it, because this helps me feel great about my life.
Because you're not the same without it, I think, too, is another thing. It's like, I don't not want to do it, like, by using your strategies to start working out personally, like I am at the point where if I have to take a rest day, I'm like upset about it. And sometimes I don't, and I'm like feeling guilty to work out. Like I was saying, like it takes willpower for me to not do this habit, like to not complete my workout. Like it would really take a lot for me. It's like so ingrained in me now by using this strategy and building my physical activity system.
Yeah, and it is for me, and I feel people's frustration, and I empathize with the feeling like a burden, like exercise, you have to do it, and how damaging that is. But when you approach it the right way, start building your system. I think that's one of our real advantages in our coaching program, is that we help people go as fast as they're able to go. Like, of course, everybody wants to go fast, right? Everybody wants to lose all the weight today and, get really fit today and, completely change their nutrition system today. But the reality is that we can only go as fast as we can go at that time. And we can help people, go as fast as they can, but when it's becoming overwhelming, take that step back so they can continue on the path rather than hit that overwhelm and then just drop off completely. I think that's where the coaching program really comes into play in us helping people get results.
Yeah, definitely. Taking a step back is like not only, I think, important or like allowed, but I think it's like a necessary part of when you're building a health
100%
system.
agree.
Like taking a step back and reevaluating, like, okay, I could slow down here, and allowing yourself to kind of rebalance and resituate where you're at with this process and integrating these new like systems into your life. I think that's part of it. So if you feel like your exercise is imbalanced, like if you feel like you're going too fast, taking a step back is not only it's not only not bad, it's encouraged is what I was
Yeah, in
trying to
fact, it
say.
has to happen, right? Like that,
Yeah.
there's no other way for you to find your path on this without finding out where it's not. Like that's how you do it. You go this way and you adjust, and that's not quite right, and this not, and also a big thing with physical activity is that setbacks are going to happen. They're not optional, right? Like you're going to have things come up in life when you just, either illness or injury or life circumstances where you're just not going to be able to dedicate the time, the effort, all those things that you had been dedicating in the past. But the important thing is that you still just keep moving forward and don't don't fall all the way off. And that's, an important part of the system.
Yeah. So I'm
Beautiful.
curious, how many of you guys watching this today already exercise like on a regular basis, or how many of you would want to? Like, leave a comment what your thoughts are on regular exercise and physical activity, and share with us what your normal routine is, or what you would like to start as a normal routine.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine anybody who doesn't, feel like, or that I couldn't say where physical activity could help them solve an active problem that they have. Like, I got this idea. I love this. I was reading a book by an integrative physician, and she had made the point that she won't prescribe antidepressant medications for her patients unless they're regularly active. And
Wow.
that was kind of revolutionary to me, because I'm like, the same thing for me in my practice. Like, I'm not going to, not prescribe blood pressure medications for people that aren't active, but I am going to make it really clear to them that, you may not need this medication if you adopt regular physical activity. And it really applies to just about any issue you have, like whether it's depression, anxiety, blood pressure, cholesterol, body weight, blood sugars, energy levels, all of those things are going to, the foundation of approach to that is needs to be physical activity. If you don't do that, you're just putting a Band-Aid on the problem.
Yeah, I love that. That makes me so happy that like someone is practicing that way. Just because, it's true. I heard somewhere, now I can't remember, but it was, action is the best antidepressant pill, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of times when we're struggling with feeling sad or being depressed, we're struggling with motivation, and we're struggling with the past. Like, we can't let that go for some reason. But taking action, I think the biggest mistake most people make is that motivation is going to come and then you'll take action, but it's really the opposite. And we get stuck in a unmotivated, depressive state when we're thinking that way, that like we need to wait for our motivation to happen, or our circumstances to align to make us motivated. No, it's, you take that action first, and then the motivation comes after that. It's always worked that way. And I think that's a big common misconception that people have. And when I'm talking action, whether that's working out or doing something that you need to do, it can be incredibly motivating and life-changing. So I can't remember where I heard that. It was, action is the best antidepressant.
Yeah, and it fits with our HEAL method, right? Like our holistic approach. I mean, obviously exercise is going to be a big part of any holistic approach to health. And, we talk about empowering people to become their own health expert, like being able to guide themselves. But the A is action, but not just any action, it's intelligent action. And that can apply on multiple levels. Like, everybody needs to go forward, but everybody needs to go forward at a pace that's right for them. For some people, their problem with action is not that they're not taking action, they're just taking the wrong action. They're trying, they haven't worked out in years, and they join a CrossFit class, and it's miserable and they hate it and they quit going. Or for other people, it's that they just need to start slowly so that they can build build their way up. For others, it's action. It's just not the right exercise for them. For some people, I'll give an example. I've had this multiple patients of mine who you say, are you active? They are active. They do, they'll tell you about their hours that they spend. It's usually on a treadmill. They spend hour a day or more on a treadmill, and yet their health is not where it needs to be. And it's because they're not doing the right action. They're taking action, but it's not directed. It's not addressing the most comprehensive, or it's not the most comprehensive or holistic approach to their health. So it's not just any physical activity. The specifics of that is also quite important.
My mom had a friend, and she had just been kind of struggling with her weight. Like it kind of just crept up on her, but she's very active, like did a lot of like spin classes and elliptical and things like that, for like hours a day. Like but she just could not lose this weight. And she finally was just like, I got to try something different. And she basically cut out almost all of her aerobic and just added in some moderate strength training and yoga on a regular basis. And she lost 20 pounds doing it.
Yep.
And it was like that, her body just wasn't responding to massive amounts of aerobic activity. Like everyone's different, but for her, like she was exhausting herself doing that and getting less sleep because of it. And her body's like was trying, I'm guessing, was probably trying to hold, like knowing that she's going to exert during 2 hours of aerobic activity every day. Her body's like packing on calories, trying to prepare for that every day. But yeah, I just thought that was amazing. Like she actually took a step back and did less and saw the results she wanted finally.
Yep, exactly. So, this is not, so for the people that are not active, that are the regular physical activity is not part of their life, that's where starting slow, keeping it simple, avoiding injury. Like we should have started with that. Like what's the first rule that we tell all of our clients or my patients is, first rule of physical activity is no injuries. So being thoughtful, having expert guidance. If you're not sure about how to do it, make sure you have the right equipment, do it in a safe place, like, because injuries, that could be devastating setbacks for people. So really focusing on no injury. But if you are active, if you have been physically active or doing regular physical activity, but you're not achieving the health results you want, you're not achieving the energy results you want, then likely it's because you aren't doing the types of physical activity that are going to be best for you to achieve your goals. And we talk about physical activity and really 4 components. Aerobic activity, which everybody knows about, and generally people do strength training, as your mom's friend experienced. I mean, but that's probably the thing that people are missing the most that become clients of ours, is that they're not doing adequate amount of strength training, which is absolutely critical for longevity and youth and health. Number 3 is sometimes we can lump this in with strength training, but stability, core, balance, purposeful movement. I mean, different words for the same things. This could be yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, abdominal work, balance work. And then the 4th one is minimizing sitting. So we talk about all 4 of those aspects, but we introduce that to people as they're making progress. We don't start people off with that, that are not active doing, emphasizing all 4 of those at the same time.
Yeah. I was going to add to this too as well, because I was going to ask if like yoga clearly falls into stability, but I think a lot of people people either absolutely love yoga, they're all for it, or they're like, think it's kind of odd. But or just like feel that yoga is like a very specific type of person that does yoga. And I would just encourage you to open your mind to it, because there's a lot of different types of yoga, and yoga could be as simple as stretching and practicing balance and core strength. And as I've been doing yoga and like expanding my yoga practice over the past couple of years, I've noticed my balance improve incredibly. And I just can imagine that, you know, as you get older and throughout your life, how beneficial that can be to build your balance and core strength.
So important because there's so many factors that go into your balance. Like, you know, it's your cerebellum in the brain, that little looks like a small brain underneath your big brain.
Yeah.
You know, that's the part that most of our proprioception, you know, our movement comes from, and our balance as well. But to integrate all those things, you get your eyesight, right? You get the feedback from your nerves and spatial information, and all of those things can decline as we get older. And so and that's a really big problem, because one of the major causes of a very rapid reduction in longevity and independence is falls, you know, falls and, you know, a subsequent injury, whether it's, you know, fracturing a hip or other bones. Those are things, if your longevity is your goal, you want to avoid that at all costs. And a big part of that is the core balance, purposeful movement exercises. And you're right. Like, I think I had to overcome, no, I don't think I had to overcome this as well. Like, I just, you know, I'm a runner, I'm a weightlifter, and not that I weightlift that much, but, you know, yoga, that's kind of a, you know, I don't know, a feminine thing. Like, I just didn't see myself as doing yoga, but as I learned more about it, I realized I was doing a lot of yoga, you know, strategies and moves. I just wasn't calling it yoga. And I think that's a really powerful testimonial that you, as a, you know, an elite athlete, I mean, you played college sports, you also found that your balance improved by incorporating yoga. That's very cool.
Yeah, I think for a long time, going from the perspective, like, you know, doing extremely strenuous workouts, it was weird for me to go to something that's delicate and light. And but it adds so much strength. Like, it is not a light workout a lot of times, though it can be, like, if you're doing a restorative. But, you know, if you want to get what, like, from yoga out of what you get from like a strength workout, you can. And that's why I was saying, like, don't knock it before you try it. Like, and it is what you make of it, you know. And there's a lot of different YouTube videos out there and practices, and you know, if you're worried about balancing on one foot, there's chair yoga and there's non-standing yoga, and just so many different things you can do just to get started, to start building up that balance. So I just thought I'd add that in there.
Absolutely. And you know, I think we tend to gravitate to things that are most comfortable with us, of course. So, you know, we see people who are runners or walkers, but, you know, the idea of strength training is, oh my gosh, no way, I don't want to do that. Or there are people that are strength training, but, you know, the idea of yoga and, you know, balance and core, like, oh gosh, that, you know, that's not what I'm good at. But it's really important. The synergy between these are just so powerful. And oftentimes we just have to have people step back, realize that they have some false beliefs around this, start incorporating these other aspects of physical activity. They see the benefits of it pretty soon. And then they're like, well, how did I not know this before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And, you know, also yoga, I think is also just reflective of what we've learned is in the Healthspan 10, all of these things have synergy, right? They're not a standalone silo. Although we talk about physical activity now, physical activity also impacts your stress, your sleep, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, all of those other things. Yoga has, you know, clearly stress relieving benefits for it for some people as well. So it's not, these things are not additive. They're like, they multiply each other. And it's exciting to see people have those revelations and see how their health and their quality of life improves.
Yes, definitely.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Well, Rielyn, I'm excited that we got a chance to talk about this. We just know how important this is for our clients in achieving their health goals. So we'll wrap this up with, hopefully there's some factors here that can be helpful for you in getting started with physical activity, building your own physical activity system. But if you are in a place where you feel like expert guidance would help you go faster, be more likely to succeed, then we're here to help. And if that's something that you're interested in, the best way to work with us is to schedule a strategy consultation. This is completely free, no pressure. All we're doing is going to, learn more about you, learn about your goals, what you want to achieve. And then if we can help you do that, then we'll talk to you about the ways that we help people achieve their health and longevity and weight goals. And we'd love to talk to you. So Rielyn, anything to add to that? Anything that you wanted to emphasize?
Not really. I think, yeah, if you're, this is something you might be able to figure out yourself, but if you want to go faster, like, we're here to support you in that. And, just to leave you with, physical activity really is a non-negotiable. It's something that is part of every healthy person's life. And if you want to be healthy, if you want to be vibrant, if you want to be your full self, you need to be active. It's how we evolved as humans. It's who we are. It's in us. It's so, so important. So
yeah. Oh, beautiful. I'm sorry to cut you off. And the last part I just say is, if you feel like exercise is something you should be doing, but you're not doing it, let us help you with how to do it the right way. And you will get to that point where it's something you will not want to live without. Like that's a revolutionary change, is when people go from, I have to go work out, to, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go work out. Like, this is something and everybody can get to that. Everybody can come to that.
Absolutely. It's in us. It's how we evolved as humans. It's how we survive. So it's really what makes you feel alive.
Beautiful. All right. And then next week, we're going to talk about the leading cause of death. It is probably not what anybody is thinking right now, but I'm going to emphasize that this is now the thing that's more deadly than heart disease, than cancer, than COVID. The leading cause of death. We're going to talk about that next week. And then, more importantly, how do you avoid the leading cause of death? This information is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Don't make any decisions about your medical treatment without first talking to your doctor. Thanks for watching. And if you want to learn more about living a long, healthy life you love, click the link below to learn more about how we help people increase their health span. And if you like this video, hit the like button below, share it with your friends, and be sure to hit the bell and subscribe.